Hi, Kat. Welcome to One Word a Day. Ah, sorry, I'm a little bit tired, but even if I'm tired, um, I still want to do this to share my native language with you, English speakers, whoever tune in. Yesterday, we talked about 法律俏佳人, which is our translation of legally blonde, not blind. Oh my God, I'm really tired. Okay. Legally is our 法律. So this is contemporary concept actually, but we can find the ancient characters that capture what is law and order in Chinese. And then we render blonde instead of a specific racially profiled character. We use 俏佳人, which is physically considered pretty and internal quality, like the best of the ceremony tool, the heirloom silverware, basically, kind of good woman there. Okay, so today we continue with 律, 自律自强. These are great concepts because in motivational books, these are highly frequently used characters in Chinese. And I want to make sense for you how we Chinese project that kind of like a Western, right? Western concept of, you will see. 律 is the same. Talks about written, the three-finger hand symbol that looks like this, right? Holding a pen. So it's written down. So giving orders, written down. And then the left side, three occurring kind of aerodynamic curves, right? Diagonal curves is our walking, the footprint. So footprint symbol, it used to have the right side. Then we get rid of that, just the left side, enough to show recurring pattern of footsteps. Three is more than enough to show it's recurring. And then we have this footstep. It eventually means doing or acting or behaving. So behaving, written down, that means you're supposed to behave in a certain way as written down for you. So that's the kind of order. It's written down, of course, like by the government, like there are certain disciplines you need to follow, and you need to do this, cannot do that, things like that. That's a kind of order. And then we have 字 and the 字 here, both paired with some sort of concept of what you should do, right? Behavior level. And 字 is ourself. We have many different ways to self-referral. So here, this 字 actually came from the center of your face. How to self-refer yourself, right? Mostly like if you're saying it's me or something, you're going to point yourself, most likely pointing to your own nose because that's the center of you, your consciousness, which is your brain, your head, right? And this is the center of your consciousness. So this is a self-referral. And in Chinese, ancient creator also used this nose, a kind of zoom up view of the nose. This is the bridge of the nose tip, basically, and the two nostrils. And you would say, why the nostrils are stacking up against each other? Well, just like our eyes are left and right, right? It should be horizontally placed next to each other. But eventually that's like too much to depict because we actually use the eye symbol to have the eyeballs in the middle to describe. So we should have this block with kind of like a block with two vertical line, right? To depict an eye. That's a realistic looking eye. But eventually this eye turned into this. This becomes our eye symbol. So in a similar fashion, the nostrils eventually turn this way. I think this is my theory. No ancient language creators and generations of language users are going to jump out and tell me if that's the case. But in the evolution of Chinese characters, maybe originally it was written like this, like realistic, depicting two nostrils under the nose, the tip of the nose this way. But it's harder to write. And imagine Chinese write with a pen like that. It will be easier to draw something horizontally like this than this, right? So it's easier to do this. Anyways, that's our nose, and nose, center of the face to self-referral. The self-order, which means self-discipline. So you order yourself to do something, which by your natural self, you won't like to do it. It's basically kick your own ass to do something. Order yourself to do something as if it's written by somebody else for you, but you have to carry it out. You have to be your own boss, basically. So that's 自律. And 自强, in a similar fashion, is something you do to yourself. And 强, okay, have this too. There are two rendering or two versions of 强. This contemporary simplified Chinese 强looks kind of similar to that. And actually, this is a character, means rice worm. So it's a soft body worm. So this is our worm symbol. You can see kind of a wiggly, right? That's our worm. And then there is almost like a hook looking thing. So I guess it's kind of almost like a hook, a worm on the tip of a hook for fishing, right? So that's a kind of harmless, spineless little creature we're depicting in this image. And then the left side is our bow. So bow and arrow are the most commonly used weapon back then. So this is a kind of a zoom up view of the bow in a device where you can place your arrow on. So there is this segment that's kind of carved in. So that's the main feature of the bow. So we have a bow on the left side, and then we have the worm, soft body worm on the right side. Together, it means this rice worm. And rice worm, this harmless, like probably the bottom of the food chain creature, how can it be used to mean strength? That's something that puzzled me. And then I find out this explanation of this character actually is a replacement, because this is too many strokes, too hard to write. And it's a commonly used concept, like it's just too much. And so somebody made the decision, okay, even if it's a worm, it's a totally different concept. We're going to use this in replacement of this character. So this character, we have same, the bow, and then we have oval shape with a cross inside. So that's a kind of ration or cut out lines of farm field. So this structure, oval with a cross in between, in the middle, means our field. Picture rice field. So in farming in China back then, it's a smaller pieces. It's not big scale, industrialized, machined, vast contemporary large scale farming that we know it as today. But back then it's labor intensive, it's household based. So everybody household have their own small chalked up piece of land. And from there they live off, right? So farmers live off their own land, and eventually, I mean, through competition or whatever, it got aggregated, like bigger land owners and farmers, you know, kind of ruling over, lease it out to smaller farmers. So all that happened in the past, but at least this is the concept captured of this cut up field that's like belong to different households. And you see two of them together and separated by this horizontal lines. So horizontal lines are even bigger cut up in a bigger scale. So it's like between kingdoms or between different rulers. And there are few lands cutting between households, right? So just within that small space, such grand scale concept was depicted. So this is basically the land zoning of different regimes, and then on a smaller scale, different counties, or like however the social structure back then. So this together, it means the borderline involves with economical, terms behind, right? And then, I mean, two worms looking the same here. Two worms living underneath that. So I don't know if worms back then was used as part of agriculture cycle, because worms are the soil movers that they kind of generate nutrition underneath. I don't exactly know, but we do have two worms depicted as if like underneath that farm fields with this borders, right? Clearly cut borderline farm fields under those are the living creatures. And again, we have this bow sign, means military maintained order, right? So this whole big picture means strength. I guess you can kind of see military strength and farming, economic, population-based strength in there. So in any case, this is our original concept of what strength is. It's more like a strong nation kind of strength, right? And then eventually extended to apply to individuals or whatever entities. I mean, strength. And eventually this simplified version replaced that, and eventually simplified Chinese replaced that. Okay, that's the whole evolution of strength. So self-strength, what does it mean? It means self-motivated. You want to grow stronger, and only you are doing this growing stronger need to inspire yourself to grow strong. So that's self-motivation. 自律, 自强 are two characters used most oftenly in this motivational book like this one. And I translate as, I removed the self one. I mean, disciplined basically means you're disciplining yourself, right? And motivated basically means you're motivating yourself, right? So that can be skipped. Just disciplined and motivated. That's our 自律, 自强. And you can see this is a translation of this influential book about self-motivation. Discipline equals freedom. The beauty of Chinese there is actually, you see, disciplined, right? 自律, that's our translation. Makes sense. 就是 is like equals, okay? No further going into that, but freedom in Chinese, we have 自 again. So in Chinese concept, freedom actually means something like discipline. Like it's you giving yourself. You do that to yourself. Isn't that something? I mean, my ancestors really think it through. So you see, in English, discipline equals freedom. Discipline, freedom, two concepts. Look, sound, everything, language source, different. But in Chinese, we have this shared quality of self. Self is you are your own agency, basically, right? So 自律 is your own discipline, and 自由 is your own path of life, like following your own will, free will. And that's our freedom translation. So there we go. 自律, 自强. Cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.